Well, good afternoon, everyone. And if you're watching this recording, thank you for joining us. I am Mike O'Connor, the head of marketing for NuVoodoo Media Services, and I'm here to talk to you today about one of our most successful promotions. It is called the Progressive Payday, and it is something that we've used now for the better part of 2 years. And it really helps radio stations juice TSL, particularly from at-work listening. And I'm just setting up my slide to advance, and there we go. We'll get started. So the Progressive Payday is a contest mechanism that leverages the drama and excitement of escalating jackpots to put a new spin on the name game. The old register, then listen for your name at set times while you work for the chance to get paid cash. It's one of those types of games, only with this particular execution, the jackpot grows until it goes. So it's that progressive nature. Some clients call it growing pot. Others will use the term progressive payday or workday cash call, but it's all the same. It's about escalating drama. It can work on all size budgets. It basically, if you've got a fixed cash amount that you give away on one or more occasions per weekday across 4 to 6, 7 weeks, then this is simply a repackaging of that budget. The most important thing about this is that we're driving share from that smaller segment of folks, workplace listeners, that tend to be the reason for 2 hours or more a day of terrestrial time spent listening. So we're going to share with you some underlying data and some success stories, but at the heart of it is the contest package. The Progressive Payday, the jackpot that grows until we get a winner, sort of works in a smaller scale to like the Mega Millions and Powerball jackpots. Now, obviously, we're not talking about that kind of money, but we are talking about growing the excitement. In our case, it's hour to hour, not week to week. But I found myself standing in line at the convenience store. I stood through about a 15-minute line, and the reason I did that because both jackpots were at or near $1 billion, and it is that kind of excitement that translates to this radio promotion. Yeah, we know it's a really small universe of people that play contests, that are diary keepers or panelists, but it is that group that correlates so strongly to Nielsen. And so cutting through the clutter by marketing the large jackpots is really the key to the success for this. And it does get results. We've worked with one major market, very well branded AC radio station for years. They've enrolled us to call workplaces and to run digital media in support of their name game promotion. And it always got some good results. It was a listen for your name to win $500 at 3 or 4 set occasions every weekday. And whenever we did it, you can be sure the ratings would pop for the month, get them back into the top 3, 25, 54 if they had drifted. If they had fell from the #1 perch, this would get them back up over their in-format competitor, and they do it a couple of times a year. To make sure they had an average rating rank that was consistent enough to be on the buy for AC radio. Eventually, the radio station came to us and wanted to try something different, and we suggested the Progressive Payday, and instantly it got a different reaction. Here's last summer, fall. Here's this winter. Same budget, same exact execution. The difference is the jackpot grew from one occasion to the other. And we're doing it again this fall. And while as of this recording, we're only about halfway through our typical promotion period, you can see the numbers reacted pretty quickly once again. And we'll show you another full case study in another format later on in this presentation. We know it works, but I thought I would invite our head of research, Leigh Jacobs, to join us to share with you some data that we've captured over the years, and particularly recently this year, that gets as to why at-work marketing, and in particular this type of promotion, seems to drive such great ratings results. Leigh?
Thanks, Mike. We're busy working on the 13th iteration of our ratings prospect studies right now. We'll put that in the field right after the holidays. We get across into January. But if I drive back to any of the prior 12 studies and I look at the people who are most likely to play the Nielsen game, they have some beneficial characteristics. Among them, a much greater likelihood of using the radio at work. They are, forgive the pun, they're just more radioactive. And that heaviest quintile of listeners, those who can really move the needle for you, are likely to do so by listening at work. And while we're not showing it here, the demos are great too. We see comparatively higher at-work usage among both 2534s and 3544s, which make for nice gains at both 2554 and 18 to 34, depending upon where you are targeting. And underpinning the efficacy of all types of contest tactics is the simple fact that people most likely to take a meter or take a diary are motivated in the main by cash. And how you position and package your cash can help entice different kinds of listeners. The big takeaway from, well, this slide where we've paired off all these different $500 contest packagings and some of the other typical radio station contest prizes like trips or front row tickets or a cruise, etc. What you see here is that particularly with the heavy deeps, cash is king. Everyone understands how to use it, what it is, why it's good, and it takes no time to explain. It's just the denomination that matters, how much cash is up for grabs.
And Leigh, you heard my dog, my new 12-week-old puppy, get excited when you mentioned cash in the background, and we may hear from her again during this presentation. I'm on dog sitting duty today. In terms of getting the word out, we've tried a lot of different tactics. You know, we're a full-service direct marketing agency for radio, political, retail. But for radio, and particularly for the at-work promotion, we've really distilled things down to two channels. Digital, which of course is extremely cost-effective and allows us to play the Nielsen game in the zip codes, the residential zip codes where the meters are or the diaries are likely to fall, and at work, which is extremely efficient in terms of the number of hits we need to make in order to move the needle. But again, the marketing channels are also informed by our research, so Leigh has compiled the greatest hits underlying that success as well.
Thanks, Mike. And we don't recommend telemarketing to residential numbers for a variety of reasons, primarily that in 2018, when you sift everything apart, you take the people off the table who don't have a home landline that we could call, and then you scrape off the people who are call screening by looking at their caller ID or just routinely don't answer anything at all that they don't recognize, and they make it go to voicemail. You're left with about 14%. So telemarketing into residents is very inefficient, very difficult. And by the way, that 14%, then you've got to find them at home. It's just not a very big target. But telemarketing into workplaces is far more efficient. And most of those who listen at work actually welcome the call. Only a small minority is turned off by those calls. And among the people that you frankly care about the most, those likely to play the ratings game, the positives go through the roof. You see numbers upwards of 70% here. And the negatives are reduced even further. About 1 in 10 might be displeased with that call.
As far as digital goes, we use all sorts of digital techniques to get at the likely diary keeper or panelists, but our goal is to really drive participation in an end-game promotion. So there's a heavier lifting than simply marketing appointment times. We need to get people into data, and we need to do it fast. And so we follow our playbook too, to establish the proper mix of media channels and to use media channels that are more likely to deliver lots of data at a lower price point. One of the keys for us is to understand the types of consumers that that interact with Nielsen's various consumer-facing websites. There's a website you visit when you get a letter from Nielsen initially suggesting that they're going to be calling you about participating in the ratings. Once you're in a panel, for example, there's a website designed to encourage better participation to keep their weekly and daily in tabs up. And so we're able to do some heavy analytical work about the web traffic going into these sites, and then we can use that as part of our targeting through what are called custom affinity audiences. But in addition to that, some of the behavior we've uncovered in our studies has helped inform our digital strategies to support the progressive payday at work too as well, Leigh.
Well, it's not really surprising that those who listen at work are even more likely to surf the web while they're listening. They have a computer in front of them in so many workplaces these days. So if we make an online impression with those people, they're likely to be able to change. We are more able to change their behavior immediately. Oh, this station that I'm familiar with is giving away a prize that I'm enticed by. I can switch what I'm listening to right now to go to that station. That's pretty powerful stuff. And as time spent listening goes up, when you get to that rarefied air of people who are listening at least 2 hours a day, so do their connections with social media, and particularly for Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
And this, I believe, Leigh, is daily use of each of these channels, right? Daily or more use? Yep.
And while we've done a lot of research on the best contest appointment times, we think these data show it best. Listen, the fact of the matter is, if you ask me when I want to play your game, I'm going to tell you when it's on my time and not the boss's time. But that doesn't match up to your goals of influencing their time spent listening while they're at work. And in terms of when they're most receptive to playing your contest at work, it turns out to be when they first get to work in the morning. So park your contest at the start of the workday and reap the benefits all day long.
Yeah, it turns out that about a third of our sample reports any type of listening at work. And here you've got about a third of this total sample saying, yes, I want to play your game when I first get to work. When you couple that with the concept that these are the people to the 70% representation level that are in that 2 hour plus daily TSL quintile for radio time spent listening, that's why workplace marketing can deliver such dramatic share increases. So your playbook, whether you play the progressive Payday to cut through the clutter or you do your own promotion, should focus on the working demographic, even if you're a top 40, hot AC, even an urban radio station that needs 25 to 34s. They're the #1 listening segment, as Leigh mentioned, to any type of audio, whether it's terrestrial radio or digital streaming media at work. We drill down to where and when they work. We use cash incentives. We park them early in the workday if budget is a concern. We're using the channels that are most efficacious for reaching and converting at work listeners, which are workplace telemarketing and digital display and video, particularly one designed specifically to capture data. And we use NuVoodoo's Progressive Payday to drive excitement and differentiate. So I mentioned before that our Progressive Payday has been on a lot of formats. We do heavy amounts of work at country, CHR, AC, which we shared with you before, but also the urban AC market is another big one. Here's a major market urban AC station that was actually between benchmark syndicated morning shows, and they wanted something that would prop them up during their music day parts while they worked on a talent transition plan. So we identified 25,000 strong candidates for workplace phone calls, female-centric, in zip codes with heavy amounts of African-American radio listening, and that was our telemarketing component. And so we made 25,000, or tried to contact 25,000 businesses, and were able to successfully enroll close to a third of them, which is a little bit better than average. This was a fairly well-branded radio station. And we coupled that with digital marketing. We chased their hot zips every month. A new CPR report would come out with a new zip code list, and we'd simply adjust the targeting for each month that they were executing their promotion. Most importantly, we used some of the really sophisticated ad inventory that's available on major social media platforms that are designed to keep the amount of stuff people have to type in on a mobile phone to a minimum. Leigh, maybe you could briefly talk about how radio stations make a big mistake and get greedy by asking for too much information when enrolling someone in a database or to play one of these listen for your name games.
Sure, Mike. We've researched this a number of times, and we've taken it all the way out to date of birth and social security number. And of course, it's down to a handful of suckers who say they would give you their social security number. But with each additional piece of information, the number just keeps going down. So we think the right plan is to require name, email address, because you'll need that to get in contact with them, and just verification that they're of age, whatever that is, to be eligible for your game, and leave it at that.
Best of all, on social media, the ads look just like the typical ad, but instead of clicking on it and going to a website where you have to basically write War and Peace to get into data, your social media profile information automatically populates. You know, we just recommend collecting enough to verify winners and perhaps to update your email database. There are other slides I'm not going to share with you that make everything compliant in terms of your privacy policy, making sure we're not violating COPA laws. And of course, the nice thing is when you're automatically capturing leads right through social media platforms, we can connect your social media pages to our email client and serve bounce back emails in real time, reaffirming the appointment times and how to play the game now that they've registered. And so again, this radio station used to do it the old-fashioned way of $500 per occasion, but they switched to the progressive payday at the end of last year. And you can see, despite being in transition in morning and afternoon drive as far as talent goes, their music day parts quickly responded, lifting the entire 2554 Monday through Sunday share very quickly. And that share lift lasted into December. We actually just stopped tracking it after that, but they were very happy with the results. So in terms of budget, when you're playing the progressive payday, this is really nothing more than a reallocation of an existing contest budget. So I want to give you 3 scenarios because not every radio station has the kind of local cash they need to compete with national contests. So how can we do things efficiently? Here's probably our most common execution of the progressive payday. Budget for a 6-week promotion would be about 30 grand. And that's where you're offering $500 to start with. If somebody doesn't call back within 10 minutes after the first occasion, you increase the jackpot to 1,000 on the next play. And then you keep doing that until you get a winner. You reset the jackpot at $500 and start growing it again. The nice thing about doing it that way is you have a certain number of fixed occasions per week. And if you allocate $500 per occasion to them, you end up spending about 30 grand, right? $500 times 2 times a day, times 5 days a week, times 6 weeks, gets you to that $30,000 level or approximately $5,000 a week. Well, whether your success rate is 3 times a week or 10 times a week, the money is not going to change because you're starting at 500. You're not paying somebody if they don't call back in time. You're offering the next person $1,000. So basically, for every occasion that you're offering cash, there's a $500 charge associated with that, and your budget stays fixed no matter what your hit rate is. Now, for some clients, they're willing to play the probabilities and stretch their budget a little further, or maybe they don't have enough budget, but still want to be able to sound big. So here's a client that started their jackpot at $500. So anytime they got a winner, the jackpot would reset from whatever the amount paid off was back to $500, and then it would grow in $100 increments per occasion. So if we're parking payoff times at the 8 and 9 o'clock hour, Monday through Friday, starting at $500, resetting to $500, but incrementing up by 100 each time, then we are making a probabilistic assumption based on the number of payouts. So at a 30% payout rate, meaning out of the 10 names you call, 3 get back to you within the 10-minute period to claim their cash, you would expect to burn over the course of 6 weeks just north of $13,000. But even if you have an enormous payoff rate, and we would say 6 and 10 is about the best we've ever seen, you're still talking about a $20,000 cash budget. We'd say budget 25 just to be safe. And again, the more weeks you can go, the more likely you are to be successful. Now, some of you are in really large markets and you're up against big $1,000 an hour national contests, and you need some big jackpots in order to make this work. We have a client in New York executing right now. They start their jackpot at $1,000. They increment up by $500 per occasion. Some weeks they're giving away only 3 payoffs, and the jackpots grow to an insane amount. In fact, just this week they gave away a $7,000 jackpot. In other weeks they have lots of winners, and they have a lot of $1,500 and $2,000 jackpot winners. So here again is that 30 to 60% payoff rate with a $1,000 minimum and a $500 escalation amount, and to go for 6 weeks, which is really what we recommend. If you can go longer, great. Still, we're talking about under $50,000 in local cash in the largest of markets. So that's about the spread that we see. Of course, none of this includes the cost of marketing. So when you are doing a promotion like this, we have to consider your market size, how many zip codes you're in, how many offices we're calling, how wide the audience we have to reach on social media. And so really that means getting in touch with us so we can put a customized plan together that will help you reach your 2019 budget goals. And I promise you that if you're like 90% of our clients executing this, you'll feel really good about the investment.
Absolutely. And the simple fact of the matter is, Mike, we don't have a sales department. So hopefully you've found the information that might help you make a decision to move forward with a project, be it with us or be with a competitor. But let us bid with you. And here's contact information right in front of you so that you can get in touch with us.
Our Progressive Payday is market exclusive. So if we're working with you, no matter what other format requests it, we will only execute one Progressive Payday promotion. Our marketing arrangements are format exclusive to begin with. So we wouldn't work with a competitor across the street no matter what. But we will also protect you and not do this particular promotion more than one at a time in any one market. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, folks.